Hey, y'all, guess what? We get to talk about an Auburn football win after the Tigers absolutely decimate ULM. Of course, being joined by Mike G with our War Report Wednesday segment. Good to see you, brother. So, my friend, what do we take away from that ULM game? We were expecting Auburn to win, but we also were kind of preparing for the absolute worst case scenario. But what do we take away from a win like that?
Rex, last week we talked about the emphasis on getting the ball to Cam Coleman,
right.
Which they did. I joked on Twitter that it was the please don't transfer Cam offense that they were running, and ran it to perfection on Saturday. So what we saw them get Jarquez the ball early. We saw them get Cam the ball early. We saw them get Keandre Lambert-Smith the ball early. They got their playmakers the ball early in that game. They didn't look back. Peyton Thorne had an efficient game, and that's the type of game that you needed to jumpstart you into Texas A&M. So they had to find some positives in this offense. They didn't do anything groundbreaking. They hit Cam on some crossing routes. I asked Hugh Freeze about the emphasis on getting Cam Coleman the ball yesterday and whether that would continue into Texas A&M. And of course he said, well, it depends on what Texas A&M gives us defensively. But I would think that they would try as hard as they could to scheme Cam open, get creative, get him in spaces where you can get him the ball. We saw probably one of the best catches of the year on Saturday.
Absolutely.
With Cam one-handing it, going to the ground, and somehow it looked like they were going to call it out for a second, but his elbow and his hand touched simultaneously. Calling field was a touchdown, so they stuck with it. And I think what we take away from this is Auburn has talent. And they have the ability to win games and win games big and dominate teams they're supposed to be able to dominate. What it comes down to is coaching and scheme. What will they be able to scheme up against a really good Texas A&M team? Defensively, I have no questions. I think the Tigers will be up to the challenge. Offensively, we'll see what they have.
And we got to start with the local kid, Cam Coleman. We saw him do it at Central High School. An Odell Beckham Jr. kind of catch, which was absolutely insane. I agree with you, probably the catch of the year at this point. But he's talented. The please don't transfer Cam plan work. So, again, is like you just mentioned, this has to be a priority. Getting Jarquez the ball rolling on the ground, and he's got to be the other guy other than KLS being your deep threat or just your threat in general in the offense, right?
Well, Cam Coleman came into the game, Rex, with 15 catches on the year. He had 8 on Saturday.
Wow.
So he did over 50% of his output right on Saturday, and you got to see more of that. You see these from the better teams in college football. Look, Alabama isn't making any excuses about what defenses are giving them. They're just throwing Ryan Williams the ball, man.
Right.
He's their best player. So that's what Auburn has to do, but you have to scheme it up well as well, too. So I hear what Hugh Freeze is saying. But then there's Jarquez Hunter. He broke the 1,000-yard mark on Saturday, finally. This is a guy who, when you look at the numbers, the number 2 running back in the country, in the conference, is Dylan Sampson at Tennessee.
Right.
He's got about 1,200 yards rushing. Jarquez Hunter is second, Rex, with just over like 1,016, I think is where he finished on Saturday. Dylan Sampson has 74 more carries than Jarquez.
You said 74 more?
74 more carries than Jarquez.
Wild.
You're not telling me if you give Jarquez Hunter 74 more carries, he's not leading the SEC in rushing. I think that he's done an outstanding job, averaging almost 7 yards a carry. There's a few backs. As a matter of fact, I think there are only 3 other backs in the top 20 in rushing in the country, averaging 7 yards or more per carry. And Jarquez Hunter is one of them. You have to get him the ball. You have to scheme it up. You can't say, oh, well, they're not giving us the run. No, he's your best player. You have to find a way to get him the ball and make that run game effective. Because if they take away Cam and they take away Jarquez, then, okay, what are you going to run?
Lambert-Smith,
right?
maybe
You've got to throw the ball. You've got to run the ball, man. So I think it's put up or shut up for Hugh Freeze on Saturday here. 1 of 2 would be nice.
Right.
2 of 2 would be excellent. It gets you to a bowl.
100%. And I think we have to, before we get to like what's going to happen with the Aggies, Peyton Thorne sets an AU record. Again, it's against ULM, so you kind of a little bit of an asterisk, but it's still a great performance. Is this the Peyton Thorne we've expected all year long? And can he carry that over to 2 more games against tough SEC opponents? It's a tough ask.
Rex, I don't think it matters.
Gotcha.
Right? At this point, he is what he is. Will you get a good game from him? I think that's largely going to depend on the coaches. At Michigan State, we saw Peyton Thorne lead an 11-2 team. Now, he had a Heisman Trophy-worthy running back in Kenneth Walker that year. But I think what this comes down to is what position are you going to put him in to succeed? I don't think the coaches have done a very good job putting quarterbacks in positions to succeed. I thought they gave up on Hank Brown, too soon against Arkansas. And at the end of the game, they did something interesting. When they pulled Peyton out of the game, they went to Walker White. Hugh Freeze said, I wanted to see Walker in live reps before the end of the season because he knows he's going to have a QB battle on his hands at the end of the season. Peyton's gone. Right. And so you're just trying to get through the next 2 games. You're trying to find a way to win the next 2 games at all costs. So which Peyton Thorne are we going to get? I'm not sure that question matters as much as which system are they going to put out there for him to run, and is he going to be successful doing it on Saturday, right? Like, I think good Thorne, bad Thorne is inevitable, right?
Fair.
He's going to make some great plays and he's going to make some mistakes. You just have to give him as many chances to succeed as possible. I don't think they've done that. I think they know that and they're owning that as a coaching staff.
Texas A&M, again, what a season that they're on fire, and they have a chance to go to Atlanta again. They're kind of almost the favorites to go from where they're at to the SEC championship game, or at least the chaos that is the SEC right now. What can Auburn do to take down the Aggies at home?
Well, it starts with defense, right? Don't score points. DJ Durkin has defense is giving up just about 18 points per game in the SEC. That's better than Auburn's 2019 defense that had Marlon Davidson and Derek Brown.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, they are playing ball on that side. We saw DeMarcus Riddick run in for a monster of a sack on Saturday. They're playing more freshmen than ever on that side of the ball. There are no excuses coming from DJ Durkin's defense. They're just playing ball over there, and we're seeing the development that we want on offense, so it starts on defense. Auburn can't win a shootout, Rex.
Gotcha.
Not with this team. And offensively, look, you've got to limit mistakes. They did something else interesting on Saturday. They gave Ian Vachon, the kicker, the start over Towns Magoo.
Right.
And Towns has missed some big kicks that have cost them games this year. Hugh Freeze took it easy on the young man in the media and said, we still have supreme confidence in him. No, you don't, because you don't change your kicker because you have supreme confidence in him, and if he's not hurt. They have missed Alex McPherson this year,
terribly.
And I would argue that there's a chance Auburn is already at 6 wins if certain kicks are made.
Wow.
So it has been critical what's happened in the kicking game. So number 1, special teams can't cost you. You've got to have good solid special teams play. You've got to make your kicks, and then lastly, you've got to score in the red zone. And Auburn has been a poor red zone team all year. Red zone offense has been Hugh Freeze's bane since he's been on the Plains. And when you get down there, you have to be able to take advantage of opportunities against better teams. Texas A&M is going to do their best to stop that, obviously. And they're a great example of it, how coaching makes the difference.
Right.
They paid $70 million to fire the last guy because he had all the talent at his disposal and missed a bowl game. So, fans, sometimes they'll come at me, Rex, and they'll be like, oh, but he needs his guys. And I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that. Auburn has talent, right?
We saw
it. The talent may be the difference between 8-4, 7-5, and competing for an SEC championship, but talent isn't the reason that you're sitting at 4 wins with 2 games left.
I mean,
right?
Being very fair.
Yeah, coaching is the reason that you're sitting there. And I think that's what I always come back to when I get, does Auburn have a chance? Well, what are they going to scheme up? Are they going to be better than their counterparts on the other side of the field on Saturday? Mike Elko has done a great job with Texas A&M. Obviously, they made the switch. There were a lot of questions about him coming in. He wasn't the splash hire, but
it was the right hire.
It was the right hire, and he got his team playing fundamentally sound. They started the season with Connor Wegman. They've moved on from him. They've found a way to continue to win games. Now, they've lost some key ones, but in some ways, this is what a promising year 1 for them. I think that's what Auburn fans were expecting from Hugh Freeze in year 1. Right. Exactly what you're seeing from Mike Elko. Win some, lose some, but the potential is clearly there. Can they show potential on Saturday versus Texas A&M? We'll all be on pins and needles to see.
And it'll be a night game at Jordan-Hare, so at least the environment's going to be absolutely crazy because Jordan-Hare, in the middle of the day, is still great, but at night when fans have time to rally up a little bit, it should be a lot of fun as well.
Should be a lot of fun.
All right, now we're going to send it over to the hardwood where, my gosh, Auburn is flying high, a top 5 team now, and now heading into that stretch that you were very interested in as well. Iowa State, Duke, big-time programs, also a fellow top 25 teams. My question to you is, we've had guys who've been in the spotlight before. Can those guys be veterans and bring up the young guys and understand, like, okay, Auburn basketball has a target on the back. Can they be ready for this upcoming gauntlet?
Auburn has amazing leadership on the hardwood right now on both sides. I was at the men's game last night. They played UNA, North Alabama. UNA, they made some tough shots to start the game. As a matter of fact, they took a lead, midway through the first half, where I think it was like 35-34 or somewhere in the 30s.
Final score being what it is, but it was still like.
Yeah, they were making tough shots, right? And so some fans were like, oh, what's with our defense? I was like, I don't know anything's wrong with the defense. I think they're just making tough shots.
And that happens.
But if you are depending on making those kind of shots for 40 minutes against this team, you're probably not going to win. This is Bruce Pearl's best team. He found the outside shooting again in the postgame last night. I asked him, I said, you scored 102 points, but you had 50 points in the paint. So the balance is there from scoring in the paint and hitting jump shots. And that's the latter is what they've been missing. They've been missing the outstanding jump shooting from the outside. Chad Baker-Mazara got them jump started last night. And then Janai Broome went like a ridiculous 13 of 17 from the field for 30 points last night. I mean, he couldn't miss. He didn't start the game hot, but he finished the game hot. And Miles Kelly said this after their first win of the season. Rex, he said, you never know who's going to be the guy that pops off on any given night. Versus Houston, we saw Tahad Pettiford, the freshman, the true freshman, go absolutely wild, and they needed him. Without his performance, they don't
win that game.
And they're not a top 5 team right now. So Bruce has something cooking, man. This is his best team, and they've got to hold it together. Now, we didn't see anything from the horseplay guys, right?
There you go.
But I think that's how supremely talented this team is. They benched those guys. We didn't hear from them last night, and they still. What was it? Was it a 30-piece?
30-piece, something like that. But
yeah, it was 102-69, I think, was the final score there. So you beat a team like that by 30 at home, and even when you don't play your best game, you're still winning by 20-plus points. That's exactly where you want to be. That's what the top teams in college basketball, they're doing right now, and that gives fans, I think, confidence headed into those matchups that you talked about against Iowa State and Duke. It's the Maui Invitational. I think it's funny. Both teams, Rex, are going to the islands to play a tournament.
Which is funny.
Yeah, the women are going to the Virgin Islands, and the men are going to Maui, to the Hawaiian Islands to play. We don't know who their matchup past Iowa State is going to be because they're playing that tournament style. But I think it's going to be fun to watch them, win or lose. I expect them to lose a game in the non-conference, certainly.
And that's fair.
But if it's competitive and if you're right there, that's what fans are going to be looking for. They played Duke in the last couple of years, and they played them tough. Not able to get over the hump. Is this the year they get over the hump against the Blue Devils? I think it might be.
All right, so that would be a whole lot of noise being made out of the Plains on the basketball court. Sticking with the basketball court now, the women's team quietly having a monster season. 1,000 wins in program history.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Coach Johnny probably going to get a nice paycheck or should get a nice pay raise right after this. Can we expect this kind of momentum? Because we maybe expected a gradual uptick in Auburn women's basketball. It seems like it's on a rocket ship right now. Can we expect just even higher achievements from this team with the way it's constructed?
Well, it has been a gradual climb to this point, so you're not wrong there. Year one, she inherited a team that won 0 SEC games. Right. So in year one, they won 2. In year 2, they won 5. In year 3, last year, they won 8. They won 8-8 in conference. I think anywhere north of 8 in this conference, especially with Oklahoma and Texas joining the conference. Yeah, Texas is, I think, ranked 4 in the country right now. So Auburn has a matchup with them pending in conference play this year. It would be outstanding for what she has. It's the job and the finish relative to the talent and the resources that you've been given. Not to make this about football, but this, I think, is what's so disappointing about football. If you're Hugh Freeze, you have every resource a coach could ask for. You got a $92 million performance center. Mm-hmm. You've got almost unlimited NIL funds to go out and recruit who you want. All you have to do is get the guys there and coach them up, right? Johnny Harris is coaching what she has every single year. And now what we've seen is the number 28 overall player and Nyla Wilson committed to the Auburn Tigers. You got Brandy Harrod, who's inside the top 50 as well, committed to the Auburn Tigers. And then Johnny Harris, full of surprises, goes out and gets Yu Ting Dang, right? She is a shooting guard for the Chinese national team, and there's a chance she could be eligible in December and could help this team this year. This is the surprise I've been sitting on that I've not been able to say because they had some things that they were working through at Yu Ting.
Right.
But she's decided that she wants to be an Auburn Tiger, and if you're Johnny, you're getting this done at all costs. You're going wherever the talent is because you understand where your program is at. And you said, if I have to think outside the box in recruiting, how can I add more shooting to a team that, again, similar to Bruce Pearl, lacked shooting last year?
Right.
So it's fun to watch what they're doing there. Now, last week we saw Talia Scott's debut. She was the SEC's leading scorer last year, Rex, and she looked every bit of it.
Wow.
She turned the ball over 7 times. She had what I would call, honestly, a sloppy debut, and she dropped 8 threes.
What?
I'm looking at the camera. I said she dropped 8 threes.
8 of them.
Right.
8 of them from downtown.
That tied a program record, and she's just getting started. Now, they held her out the first couple of games. The doctors were being overly cautious with a wrist injury surgery that she had. But look, she can flat out shoot. And she adds a dynamic to this team that you need if you're going to make a run come March. Johnny Harris has that. Lots of excitement for women's basketball. They're out in Oregon right now, so they take on the number 23 Oregon Ducks on Wednesday. You get a big win there. You come back home, and you've got some momentum. Auburn doesn't play a home game again in Neville until December the 8th, men or women.
Gotcha. So it's a long stretch right here.
Right.
So where can you get breakdown like that of both men and women's teams with the energy like that? And we just found out that Coach Johnny will go to any corner of the earth to get talent. That's incredible.
Literally any corner of the earth.
That's amazing to see her expand the brand to Auburn basketball. Because you always think like, okay, I can recruit within the 50 states, maybe recruit Mexico, Canada, maybe some in Europe. We're going to China to find a shooting guard. Because why not? I absolutely love that.
Go watch the highlights of her.
I will.
She can take it to the hoop. She can shoot. They did like a 60-second three-point drill. She drained like 29 of them in 60 seconds or something.
That's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, I think there's some challenges there in getting her in early. But the goal has always been to get her ready for conference play and unleash her on the SEC. And good luck scouting that. Right?
Yeah, I mean, look, at this point, if she can hit that many threes, and if you can have Talia Scott on a bad day hit 8 of them, just pray at that point. Good luck.
It gives you the flexibility, too, with the young freshman Jordan Hunter coming in and running the point, and we're seeing her grow week by week.
That's incredible.
You can move Talia around. Talia is like Auburn's little Steph Curry, and she can play the 1, she can play the 2, but maybe they want to play her a little bit more off ball and have her teammates create for her. Yu-Ting gives you some flexibility there to have another dangerous shooter on the court, and if you've got like Jordan can shoot, Talia can shoot, Yu-Ting can shoot, Caitlin Duhan.
That's what you need at this level, for sure.
It is. Caitlin Duhan is probably Auburn's toughest player. Man, this girl takes hits. She can take it to the hoop. She rebounds. She plays defense, and she can shoot from the outside as well, too. And then Deanna Gaston.
Monster.
Just also a monster. I think that in the preseason, when the media ranked these teams in the preseason poll, there were a lot of lazy minds that ignored that Auburn brought in the leading scorer in the SEC, that they brought in a top-tier player in Deanna Gaston, and they completely overlooked what this coach has built to this point. And you know, with the better coaches in the league, like Gino Auriemma, right? If you don't follow UConn, you just know Gino's going to field a team.
Right. He's going to be 5 stars everywhere.
Yeah, right. I think it's what Johnny Harris is she's not Gino, obviously, yet. But the assumption should be, if you follow this team, that she's going to field a competitive team every year. That's what she's done. And how many more times does she has to do it before people start to believe? I think this is the year where you really start to win people over. Charles Barkley pledged $1 million to Auburn women's basketball because he believes so much in what Johnny Harris is doing. I believe in it too, and I'm going to sing it from the rooftops.
To be fair, this man definitely has, because Coach Johnny is a woman that needs that money, and as you mentioned, teams have only gotten better. Now with the weapons coming in, could be a really special season on the Plains. Mike, we could talk for another hour about all this, but we got to go here. So where can people find you on social? And this isn't the only thing you talk about online, too.
It's not. I cover the UCF Knights as well, too. So go on over to YouTube and subscribe to Locked On UCF. Subscribe to the War Report and follow me on Twitter at Mike Gittins. We're putting out lots of great content. I'm usually at every game, Rex. These days, I'm doing all my segments mobile because I've got to jump between Columbus and Phoenix City at Auburn. But I'm there for fans, giving them all the coverage coverage they want.
The man has a batter in his back, I promise you. But that's another great War Report Wednesday with Mike Giddens. I appreciate you, brother. Guys, we'll see you next week.